Ahlan wa sahlan, assalamu alaikum. We're going to do a review of lesson 6. So these are just the different handouts that I posted for you guys. So I'm just going to go through them. You should have already done these handouts before watching this video. So the first one I'm going to be starting with is fi'l al-mudari', which is present tense verbs. And then of course you have a blank and you're simply changing the verb بين قوسين between the parentheses so that it matches. Okay, so let's look here. أنا أريد أن just means to. Okay? So the verb after it has to also match أنا because I'm the one who's talking. أنا أريد أن, I want to drink شاي من فضلك please. So we change the ya to alif hamza, doesn't connect. أنا أريد أن أشرب شاي من فضلك. أنا وأصدقائي. أنا وأصدقائي. Me and my friends. So me and my friends is going to be نحن. We. We want to do something. What do we want to do? Me and my friends. يأكل. يأكل يعني eat. So we want to say we eat. بعض الصف. أنا وأصدقائي. Change that to a noon. Because whenever we have us or we're talking, we always start the verb with a noon. نأكل. أنا وأصدقائي نأكل بعض الصف. يا فاطمة. يا فاطمة. This is حرف نداء, which means you're calling out to Fatima. You're talking to Fatima. She's in front of you. So if Fatima is in front of us, then the pronoun is أنتِ, right? يا فاطمة هل. So we want to change this so it matches for أنتِ, which is with the ta in the beginning and ya noon at the end. So we say تحبين. هل تحبين مشاهدة الأفلام. مشاهدة, that was a masdar word. So watching الأفلام movies. So do you like watching movies? يا زيد. نفس الشيء, we have ya. So this is أنت because زيد is masculine. يا زيد كيف. For أنت, we changed this to a ta. Just like in أنتِ, we changed this to a ta. The only difference was we had ya noon for أنتِ at the end. So we just changed this to a ta. And then we have the rest of the word. تحفظ. كيف تحفظ المفردات. So how do you memorize, or how are you memorizing المفردات, the vocab words? يا طلاب. يا طلاب, meaning students. Now I'm talking to the students. So I'm talking to them, it's second person, but it's plural. So that means it starts with a ta and the verb is going to end with a waw noon because it's plural. Okay. يا طلاب لماذا. So we start with the ta because we're talking to them, so change that. Then the rest of this. تتكلم, and then we add waw noon. لماذا يا طلاب لماذا تتكلمون كثيرا اليوم. خالد. Khalid is third person, it's masculine, so we just keep it for huwa, which is what all the verbs are already in. They start with ya, so we keep that the same. Khalid يلعب كرة القدم مع أصدقائه. Maha, it's third person, but it's feminine, so hiya. So we change this to a ta. يستمع means to listen, so we change it to a ta. تستمع إلى الموسيقى في السيارة. مها تستمع إلى الموسيقى في السيارة. She listens to the music in the car. أولادي. أولادي. أولادي are my kids. So they. هم. Okay. هم. أولادي أحيانا. So for whom it starts with a ya. So we have يسافر. We keep the ya and then we add waw noon because it's plural. يسافرون إلى المغرب في الصيف. My kids sometimes travel to Morocco في الصيف. Okay, so if you're confused on how to do this, go back and look at the verb conjugation charts that we did. I also gave you a handout that has present tense verb conjugations. Okay, let's look here. What do we have next? Masdar. Masdar, remember, were your verbal nouns. and verbal nouns, all verbs have them. So it is the ing noun, right? Or the act of doing that thing. So if we say, for instance, he's running, right? The verbal noun is the act of running. So in Arabic, those are two separate words. In English, sometimes the ing noun can also be a verb. In Arabic, those are two separate words. So you have the action word, which is the verb, and then you have the noun, the act of that verb, which is the masdar. And the way that you can tell the difference is that a verb, فعل, can always have the prefix that goes with all of these verb conjugations that we've done, starting with a ya or a ta, right? Ending with a waw noon, starting with alif hamza. So if I say yaqra, I can also say aqra, I read. Yaqra would mean he reads. Aqra, I read. If I say naqra, we read, right? So in a verb, you can change the first letter and it changes who is the person doing, because in a verb, it's specific to the time, right? And who is doing it. Whereas in the masdar, there's no time associated with it. It's just the general idea. So he reads versus al-qira'a is the act of reading. Okay, and you can tell that it's a masdar because a masdar is a noun, and only nouns can take alif lam. Okay, so in your books, you have pages 122 to 124 have all the charts for all the masadir for each one. So you should have already done that. So I'm just going to go through so you can see what the answers are. Okay, yash'ur bi, ash-shu'ur bi. Yash'ur, he feels. الشعور, feelings of. يحصل على, he obtains. الحصول على, obtaining. يكتب, he writes. الكتاب, writing. يدرس, he studies. الدراسة, studying. Okay. Which is different, it's not here, which is different than if you had yudarris with a shadda. Yudarris is teaching. Okay, so he teaches. If I want to say teaching, at-tadris. So those are different. So this one is studying. At-tadris is teaching. Okay, so he studies and he teaches. Okay, let's see. يذهب إلى, الذهاب إلى, going to. And remember, you can't use الذهاب as a verb. It's a noun. Okay, so you could use it as بعد الذهاب, after going. بعد الذهاب إلى الصف, after going to class. That would be a phrase that you could use this in. يأكل, he eats. الأكل, which means eating, and it can also mean food. يشاهد, he watches. المشاهدة, watching, which we saw in one of the earlier slides. يتخرج, he graduates. التخرج, okay, with the dhamma, graduation or graduating. يستمع إلى, الاستماع إلى, listening to. يسبح, السباحة, swimming. يمتحن, to test. الامتحان, test or testing or examining or examination, is also a masdar. يسكن, he lives. السكن, living. Okay, so all these ones that we filled in are all examples of masdar. So let's move on. These ones you might see examples where it's a sentence and you have to circle which word is the masdar. Okay, and notice that all of these examples of masdar, they all come with alif lam. Okay, but you can drop the alif lam, and you will see it without alif lam if it's in an idafa phrase. So for instance, al-akal is eating, right? But if I wanted to say eating falafel, then you would see it like this without alif lam, because it's the eating of al-falafel. Okay, so in the idafa phrase, if it's something of something, right, then the masdar won't have that alif lam. So if I said, for instance, and I think that you guys have seen this example, reading books, which is really the reading of books. So the word al-qira'a, we drop the alif lam because it's in a masdar. Qira'at, and then we put alif lam on the second word. Qira'at al-kutub, reading of books. Okay. We saw the example of masdar. Where was it? I think in this slide. Yeah, right here. Watching of movies. Mushahadat al-aflam. So notice here we don't have an alif lam because it's the watching of movies. Okay, let's go ahead and do the last one. And the last section we talked about was li'anna and bisabab and li. And we said that li'anna we use with a complete sentence, jumla ismiya. So you use this with a nominal sentence. And because you're using it with a nominal sentence, you can take li'anna and we can attach something to it, right? So we can attach li'anni or li'annani. We can say li'annana because we can say li'annaka because you. So you can attach a pronoun to it, just like your regular attached pronouns, so that you have a complete sentence. Because remember, jumla ismiya has to start with a noun. So if you have li'anna, okay, and then you have a verb right here, well, li'anna can only be used with jumla ismiya. So how can you make this sentence right here a nominal sentence, jumla ismiya? You do it by taking li'anna and attaching a lamir, a pronoun to it. Okay? So instead of saying because, if I want to say because he studies, we can't say li'anna yadrus. We have to say li'annahu because he yadrus studies. Okay? So if you have li'anna with the verb, just make sure that you have this pronoun here. Okay, so let's look. We have li'anna, bisabab. Bisabab you use with a simple noun, or we use it with a phrase, like a noun adjective phrase, or sometimes you might say it with idafa. Okay, so it can't be used with a sentence. So it's like saying, bisabab al-izdiham, because of the traffic. Bisabab akhi, because of my brother. Okay, bisabab al-jaw, because of the weather. Okay? So those types of things. If I want to say bisabab al-saf al-jadid, because of the new class. So that's a phrase. It can have more than one word, but it has to be only a noun or a phrase. It can't be a complete sentence. And then li means in order to. So li'anna is because, bisabab is because of, and li in order to. So if it makes sense to say in order to, then you'll use li. And li is, we use it with fi'l mudara, or you'll see it with masdar. Okay. Okay, أنا دائما مشغول blank عملي, my work. So عملي here just means my work. It's one word. So we're going to use بسبب because عملي is not one, it's not a complete sentence. So because of my work. أختي لا تحب السكن. Notice this is a مصدر. أختي لا تحب السكن في مدينة ميامي. So Miami, like Miami. She doesn't like living in the city of Miami. الجو الحار. So notice here, الجو الحار, you have to decide, is this a complete sentence or is it a phrase? So this is all the information that we've done in lesson 6. In lesson 5 is coming into play here. الجو الحار, both of them have alif lam. They're both ma'arifa. And remember when we talked about al-ism al-sifa, noun adjective phrases, if they're both ma'arifa or they're both nakira, that means it's a phrase, right? Because they're matching. So al-jaw al-har means hot weather. So because it's not a complete sentence, we're going to use bisabab, meaning, there we go, because of the hot weather. أختي لا تحب السكن في مدينة ميامي. Now we have the same thing, but we changed here, and I wrote a note. الجو حار. So الجو is معرفة. حار is nakira. When you have that break, there's an is in between. So this is a complete sentence. The weather is hot. So now, because it's a complete sentence, the weather is hot, we want to use because the weather is hot. Whereas here we were using because of the hot weather. So here we say لأن الجو حار. Okay, because the weather is hot. That's the difference between the two. نذهب إلى الصف كل صباح. We go to class every morning. ندرس العربية. Here you have a couple of options. Because you have a verb here, you can use a lam and just connect it. لندرس العربية. So we go to class every morning in order to study Arabic. Okay? You cannot use بسبب here because ندرس العربية is a complete sentence and it's a verbal sentence. If you use لأن, which you could, what do you have to attach? Because لأن has to be followed by جملة اسمية. So how can you make this جملة اسمية? You attach the pronoun. لأننا, because we study Arabic, or we are studying Arabic. Okay, لأننا. So if we were to write that, so it looks like that. Okay. تكتبين الكلمات حفظها. Memorizing. Ha here refers to it, and it's feminine because it's referring to a non-human plural, which is al-kalimat. This goes back to what we learned in lesson 2. Notice how all the things that we've been learning in all the lessons, they're coming together, right? In lesson 6 and 7, we're using them. تكتبين الكلمات. So you write the words. تكتبين is for anti, so you're talking to a woman. You write the words, memorizing them. So this right here, حفظ, is a masdar. So use li in order to memorize them. Okay, or in order for memorizing them. Khalid يشاهد الأفلام. So Khalid watches movies. Why does he watch movies? يحبها كثيرا. He loves, again, we're using ha to mean it, and it refers to the movies, which is جمع غير عاقل. It's non-human plural. That's why we treat it as feminine. خالد يحب خالد يشاهد الأفلام. So he watches movies because he loves them a lot. So we want to use لأن, right? But because we're starting here with a verb, we have to add a pronoun. So because he, لأنه يحبها كثيرا. Okay. So that is the review for everything that we've done in lesson 6. Of course, I'm not reviewing the vocab words because you guys can practice those on your own, and you can use Quizlet to use the online flashcards to practice.